Welcome to episode 3 of Building Bridges, the Birth of Your pre-show podcast. I'm here with Reese Roberts, founder of Serv Inc. And today we're going to be talking about her role in the summit, as well as the wonderful, exciting, amazing world of consumer claims. Now, I know that you might be wondering, what is consumer claims? Where does that come from? And what panel is she on? Because we're here to learn about the podcast. But I know that she's going to give a wonderful example of it. The podcast she's speaking on are the BRICS and the de-dollarization of the USD, as well as for and about reparations. But before we get started, I'm going to let her introduce herself. Ms. Reese Roberts, go ahead and let them know about you and what it is that you do.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I am Reese Roberts. I am the founder at Serv Incorporated. And so what we do is really just assist the United States. We have administrative offices set up to help consumers because the United States is taxed, or they have assumed a role of regulating commerce. And so what we do is we construct consumer claims to assist the United States in making sure that these financial transactions are actually regulated according to the United States Code. So they have administrative procedures, they have examination procedures, they have a whole list of statutes and codes and things like that are set up to make sure that consumers are being treated fairly and equitably inside of their financial or consumer commercial transactions. So our job is to make sure that when a person uses, for example, their social security number to enter into a financial transaction, that is something that is heavily regulated by the United States. And so our job is to make sure that we are facilitating that regulatory process to make sure that consumers fully understand what benefits them in the regulations. They understand how to articulate it. They understand how to enforce it and how to administer their transactions according to their own benefit so they can protect their interests. So we do that for several reasons, actually. We do it, number one, because it helps they do things like reduce the national debt. It also assists consumers with saving substantial amounts of money, and it helps consumers to be able to participate fairly and equitably in commercial trade, especially on the secondary market as investors instead of just strictly being consumers. So there is a reason, or I should say the benefit of doing that is to make sure that we're bringing balance and stability into our economy and making sure that we're not seeing so much volatility that, where you see a disappearance of the middle class and just seeing all of our money being siphoned off into the wealthy classes in America.
Thank you for that. And for all of you who might need a little bit more help, because when I first heard it, it took me a couple times. It's so much information. It's so important. I want to make sure every single person has a very clear understanding of the premise, similarly, of what you do. And I like to liken it to a neighborhood watch, right? So, we have the police force, we have the police helping us and they're patrolling, making sure that we are all safe and that people follow the rules. And we have rules and laws that people should follow. But we know that sometimes, the police can't necessarily get to you all the time. Or maybe they can't check into who opened your back gate or who took your bike. Maybe they have more important things, more big things. I don't know, whatever reason they're not helping the way we feel. You can form a neighborhood watch, and then neighborhood watch can go and do patrols and go get reports from things and also assist to doing their job. Maybe they don't go and, arrest the people, but they can send in their evidence and the things they've gathered on behalf of the community and help them, to get the person. So I'm seeing that this is very similar to consumer claims. Instead of, laws and police, it's consumer claims and consumers and the government.
That's right. And the thing that also makes us very special, and the reason why we're doing what we're doing, is because we recognize in international law, the spirit of self-determination and self-governing gives us an order to do this type of work. It calls for people of our ancestry to actually take this role of governing on our land. And I think one thing that is very apparent around the world is that the United States is headquartered on our territory. They're headquartered on our land. And so with that being a reality, the rest of the world, including the United States, is looking for our people to express and execute these types of administrative offices to where we're not just allowing the United States to run unchecked on our land. And so it gives rise to the idea that, and the reality that we have a superior jurisdiction of governing. We have superior claims that can be made. For example, inside of a commercial transaction, which is normally governed by the Uniform Commercial Code, when we introduce concepts of law like equity, it naturally dominates over a commercial or corporate jurisdiction of law. So because we have this natural law, we have equity, we have common law, contract law, all these things that we have the right and ability to govern, then it gives us much more governing power when it comes to how we assist the United States in doing their duty, or their assumed role rather, of governing commerce. So our job is very special, very important, because it gives us an opening of the door of us to be able to execute our duty and our right to govern and even to tax here in America on our land.
I love that. I really like how we pivoted into that self-determination. As you know, as Empress of Ishola, I have a very, very heavy and large stake in that self-determination as we represent the Six Nation on behalf of our people, not only on the continent of the Americas, but also in the Caribbean, in Europe, and abroad, making sure that while we're having this, we are taking the right to organize ourselves as put forth by the Durban Declaration, as called for in 2015 by the African Union. One of those things that people bring up all the time, is also a panel that you're on, is reparations in that. Creating these governing bodies and creating these regulatory bodies to also handle reparations as we create our own self-determination. As we look forward to seeing you on the panel on Saturday, by the way, plug, the panel is at noon on Saturday. It'll be at the Hilton Atlanta. We are part of the National Black Business Conference. It's the Birth of the Nation Global Peace Conference. And your panel, the Fight for and About Reparations, is at noon on Saturday. So I'd like to talk about what we can look for in that panel, and what is your stance on our self-determination, self-governing as it pertains to reparations and retrieving those reparations.
I'm so glad that topic is still on the table for our nation of people, because there are a few things I think that our people should recognize on all levels of education, on all levels of experience, or just us as our awareness. We are a nation of people that is foreign to the United States. The United States is using our land as a financial asset to generate commercial revenue for their nation of people. So when it comes to reparations, it's not a conversation about, may I have some money, please? It is more along the lines, more accurately, we should be having a conversation from one government to the other, and we should be looking for a honoring of a fiduciary relationship that is already existing between our nation and their nation, whereas they have our property and we're looking and making claims to get it released. We're not asking for something that we do not already own. We're not asking for something that we do not already have. We're looking for, I shouldn't even say it that way. We are enforcing provisions of law, contracts, covenants, treaties, things that already exist, that are already binding, okay, for the United States to honor those things as we construct and erect our offices to even make the claim. So it's almost like we are beneficiaries that have not yet expressed or exercised our rights in the capacity of a beneficiary. So our whole entire purpose to be restored is for us to make the claim to be restored. It's not about asking for something that we do not already have.
I completely agree. There are lots of things that have been put in place for us over the last 100 years that might not be as advertised or as shared intentionally, I feel, that have been put in place to benefit us largely, whether it be land or finances or being made whole in certain situations, or reclaiming things that sometimes we genuinely, literally already own, but have no way of actually physically going to reclaim, that maybe our parents or our lineage or somebody down the line has had, that maybe sold off, or at least I know myself recently doing some work on my grandfather, there was at least 8 properties that my family had put and given away to drill for oil or something when I was maybe a child. And I remember them doing paperwork about it. I never heard anything about it again. And I went to go look. Not only did they let that lapse, they let that contract rights lapse, no one ever checked to see whether or not we had any money owed to us for that because we were supposed to get a portion of the proceeds that came from that. And they just kind of let the paperwork lapse. That by the time I went to go check it, it had already lapsed in the amount of time I could have reclaimed that. And so these are just examples of things that we already own. I'm in agreement with you on a lot of reparations mean things that you just need to do the paperwork to claim.
That's it.
I'd like to move
There.
into yours. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there are things already written into the law. So yes, I was just reiterating that yes, we're all these things that are already known and widely accepted, not just in the United States, but around the world for us to restore ourselves to our proper place.
Definitely. I'd like to move into your next panel that we're going to be going over, which ties in the same, I feel, as well, is BRICS and the de-dollarization of the USD. And the way I feel that this ties in is because we have, I mean, right as we were talking about self-determination, to represent ourselves globally as well as pertains to international trade. What are your thoughts and what can we expect from you on that panel as it pertains to how we can, as a global Black diaspora, take our claim on the global scale financially?
That's a wonderful question. So, de-dollarization is, I think, something again that's happening around the world. And I really believe that our people as a nation are really just going to sign on to that. So, it will give us the natural opportunity to circulate our own currency. That's how, as frank as I can put it. Because we have these opportunities to create digital currencies, to back them by whatever value we want to back them by, we will have wide open opportunities. Like you see demonstrations of that happening right now in African nations where they are saying, nope, we do not want to have any support by the United States dollar. We're going to erect and construct our own currency systems. We are going to enter the exchange. We are going to have our own exchange rates. And this is how we're going to do business according to our resources. Our wealth will be determined by what we contribute on a global market. We're not going to any longer allow manufacturing and processing of our natural resources to happen outside of our own internal infrastructures and systems. We're no longer going to allow all of our intellectual property. And so I believe, as a nation of what we call Black people, that we would need to conceptualize is the best word that I can put it. Conceptualize the values that we have around the world, especially things like how we invent things. We have intellectual property, media, entertainment, fashion. These are all things that our people, especially in technology as well, our people have been leaders in technology intellectually for centuries. For centuries, we have been inventing and creating technologies that are used around the world. But because we have this issue of governance and self-determination not being the forefront of how we administer and present ourselves on the global stage, then we're using the dollar to represent our value. And this is where we're making a shift, where we're pivoting to say around the world, we will have our own denomination of a economic currency to represent who we are as a nation and what we bring to the table with our own units of measurement. And so whatever we choose to back that with, that will be up to us in our administrative offices. And that's the reason why Serv Inc. is here, is because the administrative duties will never take care of themselves. If somebody from another nation wants to do business with Black people, they have to have a door to knock on. They have to have a number to call, an email to reach out to. So when we have our national currency ready and available for business on the global market, we won't have to go through any channels of recognition or through any channels of trade to be recognized, as long as we have those contracts and treaties and covenants already in place for how we have declared and reserved our rights to take participation in these markets. So I think that we do have some work to get our currency created and to make sure that we have our security for our currency there. But those things are already available. All we have to do is buy into them, organize them, and launch them for usage.
Definitely, which is why we are having the Birth of the Nation Global Peace Summit as we
Yes.
are creating this nation and its regulatory bodies and its associations and all of the different entities that are helping us to globally govern ourselves, which I'm really excited about. I like now to pivot just a moment to our
Mhm.
Name the Nation initiative that we're doing. It ends on this Sunday. So if you've not, go to birthanewNation.com slash
Uh-huh.
forward slash name it. BirthanewNation forward slash name it. And you get to vote and help us choose the name for the nation. We want to make
Oh,
sure that
wonderful.
yes, we want to make sure we had a wide array of people's opinions and thoughts. So we wound it down to 5 main names. All of them can be said verbally as well as have an acronym. That way it can transcend languages and cultures. And we are really excited about it. So every episode, I ask our speaker to give
Hmm.
us kind of what they're excited about or what, some kind of part about the summit. So while I'm
Okay.
sharing about the summit and the week-long events we have, I would like you
Hmm.
to go ahead and go to the website,
Uh-huh.
birthnation.com, and I want you to tell me what name. If you don't want to share the name, but I'd like to hear what you chose for a name. I'll share what I chose for a name as well. While she's doing
Okay.
that, I'll share with you all what we have for the week lineup, all the events. Okay, so Sunday, the 18th, August the 18th, 2 Sundays from now, we're going to start off with our royal meet and greet, our press releases, and our royal convocation, and that's by invitation. Our royal meet and greet is public. Then on Monday through Thursday, which I know is Mrs. Roberts' favorite as well, is our working group policy roundtable discussions. We'll be finalizing our policy paper on behalf of the global Black diaspora, which we'll be presenting to international, the United Nations, African Union, G20. On Wednesday, we'll be taking a tour of Tuskegee. We'll also be having a national luncheon. We'll be having on Thursday the Welcome to Atlanta networking brunch and networking happy hour. On Friday, we'll be having the National Black Business Conference. We'll all day long. On Saturday, we're joining them with the workshops for the Global Peace Summit as well as the Pan Africa Diaspora Day. And on Sunday, we are having our Community and Culture Day. So we have a very long, very fun,
Oh,
jam-packed
I
week of
love
events.
it.
I'm excited about it. Okay,
I'm
okay. Did you
excited.
check the names?
Yes, I've just voted for Enosa. I like it because it includes sovereignty. And I just want to give a quick little, encouraging word about what sovereignty actually is, because I think some people will say it thinking that sovereign means that you're above God or that you are God. But really, in law, sovereignty is all about you doing what is necessary without permission from anyone else. Sovereignty is about how you express and how you act. It's not necessarily about you having superiority over another. It's about you having control over yourself. And so, because we are self sufficient and we're saying that this is how we govern ourselves, that is when we say that we are sovereign. It's when we have the full capacity to govern ourselves under self determination, and that we're not looking for another system or another administration to do that. It's us doing it on our own. That's what sovereignty is.
I love that. A lot of times I hear that as well. As I am sovereign of our Shola, oftentimes people have a misconception of what that means, or they think because they've heard it in other capacity, that's the only way that it could be had. And in
Mhm.
reality, it simply means that we move on our own behalf. The same as the
Yeah.
Jewish community has a member
Yeah.
state. Well, they're not necessarily a member state, but they're an observer. They have Israel, as well as the Catholic Church has the Holy See, and they are sovereign as well. And so, as humans, are sovereign by default. We came out sovereign. It's only by allowing and giving our sovereignty to a higher entity that we no longer have that. I chose Enosa as well. So,
I love it. Great. Okay. Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike.
absolutely. Now, I know there are a few things that you had going on. I want to share that with everybody before we go. But right before we go, if you've not gotten your ticket yet, I want you to go to
Mhm.
birthnewNation.com, click on the button that
Yeah.
says get tickets. Remind you when you do this, you're going to have to scroll down because as we've told you, we are partnering with the 124th National Business Conference. And they're having multiple summits there. They're calling it the League of Summits. So there's like the Black Capital Summit, there's the Next Gen Summit, and we are right there, top of this birth of a new nation, Global Peace Summit. But when you get your ticket, it's at the very end. You have to scroll all the way to the bottom and click on that ticket, and it will get you all the days. You don't have to worry about it. go and get that ticket. Now, mind you, after you got that ticket, where can they find you, Miss Roberts? Where can they find you?
I'm on servincorporated.com. That's where you can find all of our consumer services, consumer surveys, and even some corporate products and services that we have available there. Digital downloads. It's soon coming. You will see our educational products being launched, and just in general being able to consult with us. So that is SERV, like you see on my shirt. Serv Incorporated is the word spelled all the way out, and you'll be able to see that there, servincorporated.com. So another thing you'll also be able to find on your streaming platforms is our podcast called The Corporate Critic. That is me, and every now and then an occasional guest is featured on the platform so that we can talk about our research. We talk about some of the goals and objectives that we have for our consumer audience and also for corporate audiences as well. The work that we're looking to do in the financial world with financial institutions. You'll hear some conversations about that. And you can also engage with us on our podcast. So on Spotify, especially, there are engagement tools. So you can answer some questions, take quizzes, and participate in the conversation. On Instagram, you can find us at serv.soar, SOAR. You see it on my shirt, SOAR. Serv.soar.ato. We are headquartered here in Atlanta.
Thank you. And I'd like to add one last one, the Hoover app. After you've gotten your tickets at birthnation.com, when you register, it will you'd like to be registered for the Hoover app as well. Definitely do it. 10 stars, highly recommend on this app.
Yeah.
I'm on the app. Miss Roberts on the app. All speakers are on the app. You can also pre-register for a lot of the sessions, including the one at 11 o'clock, BRICS and the de-dollarization of USD, as well as 12 o'clock, the fight for and about reparations, as well as some ones I'm on as well. You can also message us there. You can say, let's connect, and it sends our contact information over. You can also start a poll. There's a lot of fun things and ways to engage on the app, and we want to hear from you prior to the summit. So that way, we can just get things excited, get the ball rolling. So meet us there. This is the end of our episode. Thank you so much, Reese Roberts, for having us, for being here with us. Thank you so much for sharing. We're excited to see you on those panels on Saturday. Now, if there's one thing you want to know, what was the last thing you want to know before we go?
Just make sure that you are participating online when you see our surveys. We will, if you are communicating with us at all, your survey information when we launch them will help us to do the administrative work and governing that we do with the United States government. So the reporting that we are going to be doing, we're looking to collect that from our whole entire nation at large. So we want as many participants in that as we can get so that we can make sure that we have a robust data set of information that we can analyze and report to the United States our findings and the administration of our governing rule parameters. So we basically want to make sure we're getting as many participants as possible. So if you engage with us, just look out for those surveys so that we can hear from you.
Indeed, please do and help us out.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we had you today. Everybody, until next time, go get your tickets and we'll see you in Atlanta. Have a great day.
Peace and love, everybody.